Going live. It is the thing that we are doing. I'm going to pop out the chat.
Pump
out that chat. Pump it out.
Yeah. We are live.
There we go.
Popping out the chat.
I too will pop out the chat.
As I'm popping out the chat. Want to know where it's at?
Right there in a window.
Yeah.
Right there.
When you pop it out.
Three people watching. I have a feeling it's us.
Oh, man, we peaked. Oh, I'm not watching.
It's a new record.
It's a new lap record.
That's a new lap record.
That was like that racer game was like $4 on the eShop.
Yeah.
This week.
It's worth it just for that
That
sound
was the
sample.
best thing to come out of episode 1.
Yes.
Fight me.
True. All right, ready to go?
Been ready for
ready?
20 minutes.
Hello and welcome to episode 734 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, December 1st, 2020. I'm your host, Chris Johnston, and with me as always from Canada, Mr. Greg Seward.
Hola.
How's it going, sir?
It's going well. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And joining me from the great state of Washington, Mr. Phil Theobald.
Thwip, ropers. What's up? Remember what Spider-Man always says, his anti-drug message, rope, not dope. So,
okay.
Keep the kids on the straight and narrow, man.
I trust you on that.
That was a very short-lived message.
Roping, not doping. Flip, web slingers.
And joining us for a very special Miles Morales spoiler chat.
Oh, thank you. It's nice to be here. I'm very excited to be on your iPod to talk about my hot new game that I created. Miles the Man who swings on ropes.
Can't even get through it.
Can't even get this one out, folks. Sorry.
No, not Sam Raimi. I'm talking about Chris Baker.
There's someone listening for the first time who is very confused right now.
That's right.
Nobody's listening to this show for the first time.
Seabake, welcome to
it's
the show.
It's good to be here. Sorry, I'm a little late.
Your return. By the way, the last time you were on anything having to do with the show was the last quiz that we had, the Player One Squares, which was awesome. And then Wynn had a baby and didn't come back.
Seabake didn't have the baby.
No.
True. Yes,
I guess that's true.
I helped the process along, and I continue to care for this young child that I care for very much. She's quite lovely.
She's adorable.
There you go.
By the way, she is gorgeous.
Adorbs.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
I was contemplating having her on here as a guest appearance, but she went to sleep. So
yeah, that's more important.
Yeah.
So as a new father, tell us how your life has changed.
I mean,
in 30 seconds.
Less sleep is the main thing.
seconds.
The sleep schedule is very random and it's not like last night I actually got somehow managed to get 9 hours of sleep because she just slept that whole time. But the night before it was 4 hours.
Child.
Yeah. No, she woke up at 6. He kept us up for 30 minutes and she went back to sleep and we went back to sleep and woke up at 9 and
nice.
Yeah,
so
that was a nice end of Thanksgiving weekend treat. But yeah, the sleep is one thing, not playing as many games either. That didn't sound eating.
Have you been barfed on yet?
Not as bad as you'd think, I mean,
that's a yes.
I mean, everyone's gonna have that. I had that as a big brother when I was a kid. So
okay, let me clarify. Greg is not talking about when you and Ethan were roommates.
I did have to change his diapers pretty often.
Yeah, he means specifically the baby. So
I didn't know that was part of the deal when I signed on.
Yeah.
You didn't read the roommate agreement clearly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
He's tricky with those legal documents that he's on.
It's not as bad as you'd think, but I mean, at the same time, you kind of realize that your standards go way down after a while. puke and poop and all that.
Oh yeah, there's been a lot of poop.
Other people's puke and poop touching your body.
Since she started solids, the poop quotient has, I would say, at least tripled.
Right up the back.
Man.
Yeah, it goes up the back. And it's a lot more frequent. It's probably 2.5 times a day on average, I imagine, like 2 or 3 times a day.
2.5?
Yeah, 2 to 3 times a day.
You get that kid to a doctor.
2.4 times a day.
It's only just half
as opposed to the 1.2 before.
Just
do you guys rock paper scissors for the 0.4 each day or what?
I'm just imagining just a big turd just sliced right down the middle. Coming
it's
out.
Interesting because sometimes they're like big clumps of turd and they're pretty easy, and sometimes it's all mushy and it gets everywhere.
That's the fun stuff.
It's like sand.
Yeah.
Gets everywhere. Gets into everything.
Yeah. I see you're sort of using a green screen there. You have a picture up of an old cubicle.
It's a Zoom background. It's not technically a green screen, but yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It is. It's my old cube in 2002, which you guys all recognize.
It's from Oak Brook, Illinois.
Is it Oak Brook or is this San Francisco?
This is great radio for everyone listening. But yes,
that's Oak Brook.
Well, this is an advertisement to watch our live YouTube.
Where's the is the George Foreman grill on the other side of the cubicle or?
That's that was below it for one day.
Yeah, I remember.
You had a George Foreman grill in the office, like in your.
I thought it would be. It was just one of the stupidest things I've ever done.
That seems like a fire hazard.
Fun to just to make my lunch in my cube, and no, it was not a good idea.
I remember Gary Steinman having very choice words about that.
Joe did,
and Joe,
yeah. That was a stupid thing to do.
You had it under your desk.
Yeah, I just tried it one day,
just to keep you warm.
Yeah, keep your tootsies warm.
Lunch.
Look at that.
Hey, just rest your feet on them.
I've worked in offices where people had space heaters under their desk, and in one particular office I worked in, it would blow the fuse for everybody's computer when they turned it on. It's like, don't do that. Like, get a blanket or like wrap up. Yeah,
and
maybe they should have just used a George Foreman grill instead.
There you go.
Yeah, possibly. But we have you on here, Seabake, because we were going to talk about Miles Morales, and this is going to be a. Is
that all I'm good for to you, Chris Johnston? Spider-Man talk.
No. But
the only reason I'm here.
Your superhero knowledge. That's all.
Superhero knowledge. I have no superhero knowledge. I will admit I'm not a comic book fan or a.
Let me ask you this, CJ.
Superhero movies. What?
Who's Bruce Wayne?
Batman.
No, he's a Gotham City millionaire playboy.
Oh well,
so he's probably a billionaire these days.
Yeah.
Hey, Seabake.
Yep.
Let me ask you this real quick because we were briefly discussing this before the show. CJ and myself. What's your take on Spectacular Spider-Man, the animated series?
Oh, it's fantastic.
There you go, CJ.
It needed a proper ending.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, it got canceled after that second season, but.
There have been like very meager attempts to bring it back, like hashtag save Spectacular Spider-Man, but
yeah, it's not gonna.
Well, we were talking about that because since I've been playing so much Spider-Man in video game form, my daughter has been watching me play, and she wanted to watch other Spider-Man content.
Okay,
which is surprisingly not as readily available on streaming services as you might think. But I happen to have like the Sam Raimi movies.
Smart choice.
Ripped onto a media server, so she started watching the Sam
Raimi. Stolen.
You're a thief.
Hey, originally purchased on
Stop
DVD.
Thief! You stole my DVDs.
Originally purchased.
There's an FBI warning for a reason, Pally.
And she really likes the first two movies. I don't think she's watched the third one yet.
Yeah, well, she might. She's at an age where she might like it. It's honestly maybe the most disappointed I've ever been at a movie.
Yeah,
Spider-Man 3.
And that's like the definition of phoned in.
And you saw episode 1.
Yeah,
of Star Wars.
I like episode 1.
Episode 1. Oh,
well, okay then.
But anyway, so Seabake, we had you on here because obviously you run like a superhero.vg YouTube channel about superhero video games.
Yeah,
And
yeah. When I can do it these days, it's like once every 2 to 3 months, I'll put something up there. I'm working on something pretty big right now, actually.
yeah,
bigger than
and
a
you've written
baby.
a book about heroes in video games, but badly.
Wait, you're saying I badly wrote a book?
Boy, that was
You
a
didn't
terrible
write it
description.
badly.
That's really what it sounded like.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, it was.
superheroes portrayed badly.
Oh, how about that terrible book you wrote, Seaman? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
Yeah, the sequel has been about 60% done for about 3 years now.
Nice.
And
All right.
can you believe it's been 6 years since I put that thing up there? It's been 6 years.
It's been a while.
It's called
Yeah,
Wrong
I
Retro
didn't realize
Games You
it's been
Messed
that
Up
long.
Our Comic Book Heroes. I will
Yeah.
link to that in the show notes.
One of these days I'll get volume 2 out there, but I haven't worked on it in 3 years. So.
It's funny how that
Excellent.
happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
That does happen. But so anyone listening to the podcast now who has not played through Spider-Man Miles Morales may want to stop listening, since we're going to chat about the game the entire episode.
Probably worth considering. We'll probably be talking about the first
Also
Spider-Man
Spider-Man.
game.
Yeah.
And
We'll be,
Yeah.
its
we'll be
ending.
spoiling that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you haven't played either of those games, maybe stop listening
Yeah.
right now. And all right, we're in spoiler territory.
We are. Aunt May dies.
Oh, we really did get to this spoiler talk really quick. Yes, Aunt May dies.
We said we're in spoiler territory. And that game's like, what, 2 years old?
Phil's just gonna blurt out spoilers out of context for the next hour.
Now, I started playing Spider-Man Remastered after playing Miles Morales.
Yeah. I
'Cause
hope you
you're
didn't get too
weird.
attached to Aunt May.
I have not gotten to the point. I've not gotten to the ending of that game.
Well,
Can't
but
you save her,
thanks
though?
for
Isn't that an
spoiling.
option?
Well, if you look in the grave, in the graveyard, in the cemetery, closely enough, you'll find her gravestone.
in
Oh, you
Miles
know what? I
Morales?
never even thought to do
Yeah.
that.
Oh, okay.
Really? Oh,
It's
that's
also
cool.
after you beat Spider-Man, the older game, like after in the post-game
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
It's there too.
Okay.
I assume
Very
she's
freshly
buried
dug.
somewhere near Uncle Ben.
Right next to
'Cause
him, yeah.
Wasn't there a trophy for finding Uncle Ben's headstone
Yes.
in the first game?
I think
Okay,
so.
there you go.
There's a trophy for finding Jefferson Davis's,
Hey, who?
the father of Miles Morales.
Miles is
Yeah.
dead.
Oh, right. Okay.
Not the Civil War. I
was gonna say.
person. Not the leader of the Confederates. Like, I never understood why Bendis went with that name. It's
Question for you, because I
Mhm.
feel like if any of us here are going to know, you will, Seabake. I haven't bothered, or I haven't been able to go back and check, but in Miles Morales, are any of the like Netflix MCU landmarks still in there? I went and looked for Fogwell's gym,
yeah.
and it looks like the building's still there, but the sign's gone. It looks like the building's shut down, but I could be wrong.
Fogwell's gym. I didn't think
Yeah.
to look for that one. I know Nelson and Murdoch, Alias Investigations. They're there.
Are they? Okay.
They're decked out in Christmassy stuff. Actually, Alias Investigations like says out of business now or something like it. It's like there's some kind of joke. I've got a screenshot of it somewhere.
I don't remember how the third season ended, or was it second season? Did Jessica Jones have 3 seasons? I don't
Two,
remember.
I think. What is it?
Anyway,
Was
I
it
don't remember
3?
how
Yeah, I
that
don't-
series ended. I don't know
I don't
why
remember
it would be out
either.
of business.
But yeah, it was those aren't really directly related anyway. It's just
no, I know, but that was kind of, I mean, the Netflix series were kind of what were current when the first
Sure.
game came out. So I remember I was always bummed that Pop's Barbershop wasn't in Harlem, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a huge missed opportunity, especially now a chance. Maybe it is in there and I just don't know about it, but it would have been great to see the Barbershop or Harlem's Paradise, a couple of those things.
Yeah,
would
I
have been
do
fixed too.
think this is just a thought on my part, but the what's her name, Heidi in the game, the deaf
Mhm.
street artist,
Haley.
Haley. Okay, Haley. Yeah. I think she might be making Mariah Dillard from the Luke Cage, the villain in Luke Cage.
I think you did a video that said
Yeah,
that.
I did.
Yeah.
There's nothing to really suggest that other than the way she looks, but
Yeah.
that is the look of comic book Mariah Dillard, and she is from Harlem. And
Oh, okay.
no one really knows she's a bad guy, so it could just be
Black Mariah.
Yeah, that's what they call her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just my own personal I wonder if that's actually an Easter egg. I don't know.
I was willing to go with it. I liked the idea behind it.
Could be.
Yeah, but there's obviously a bunch of Easter eggs. That's what my video I'm working on right now is.
Nice.
But not as many as the first game, and a lot of them are just like the first game with Christmas dressing on it.
like I say, I mean, I don't remember ever going and finding Fogwell's gym before in the previous game, but when I went and sort of just out of the thinking like, oh, I want to see if some of these landmarks are there, and I found a little map of Hell's Kitchen, and they mentioned Fogwell's gym. So my buddy Jim and I went to look for it, and we found what I think was the building, but it looks like it's all boarded up. It's out of business. And where the sign used to be, it just looks like a sign's been taken down, and but it seems to be the same spot. So
they maybe went out of business.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. So where do we want to start? Chatting
Obscure
about
Easter
this.
eggs.
Yes. So it starts off. You don't need to have played the original to play this. It gives you a previously on sort of summary of what happened in the first game, which I watched and then promptly forgot. And
I don't remember anything about that. I remember there was one, but I couldn't tell you what it said.
Yeah, just quickly goes through the events of the first game. But yeah, it sort of starts you off. Miles is learning how to be a Spider-Man, Peter Parker.
Little Spider-Man.
He's not learning how to be Peter Parker.
No,
he's not learning.
There's already a guy named Peter Parker. He's learning to be Miles Morales as Spider-Man.
The other one. The other
Spider-Man. Yes, he's
not. He's like at an intermediate level now. I'd say he's not beginner Spider-Man.
Right.
If it's like your swimming classes when you're a kid, he's out of the guppy pool. He's
being prepped to be left alone.
Yeah.
In New York because Pete's going to be leaving. So
I feel like Pete jumped the gun on that a little bit, but anyway.
The DLC in the first game had, it kind of had like little moments of that where Peter was training Miles.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't played the DLC. I need to go back and do that.
Yeah, I need to as well.
This is a good way, I think, to start off this game because so many video games in a sequel have to like retrain you how to be the main character, right? So this was just a very natural way to do that.
And whenever you can be someone who is like really early on in their superheroing career, it's always a good for video games because I think it's a natural progression.
I think too, like I really like the idea that with Spider-Man, Peter had been Spider-Man, like he was experienced at that point, right? Like when in that story, you're kind of jumping right in and you're Spider-Man. He's been around for a few years. So it's kind of interesting that the sequel is actually sort of the origin story game, Miles' origin story. But you know what I mean? Like but it was a great place to start, especially the way that they expanded the combat abilities with his powers. So it's like, you don't need to have played the previous one, but if you played the previous one, it's a really nice jumping off point when you unlock like his venom abilities and you unlock his cloaking ability or his invisibility. Like it really makes the game feel different, but extremely familiar at the same time if you had previously played the first one.
And it might just be me, but going from Miles to Spider-Man Remastered, I noticed this like in Miles, you can do things like hold down the square button and he'll sort of gravitate towards the next available enemy. Like more than Peter Parker did. I mean, he kind of did that in the Spider-Man, but I found that you have to like press triangle to like web towards an enemy, then hold down square more than in Miles Morales. I thought the combat overall, just the combat flow, even talking about the venom powers, like I thought it was handled a little better in Miles Morales, especially the cloaking ability and stealth in Miles Morales was a lot more satisfying to me than that same sort of gameplay in the original.
Definitely gave you more crowd control options, which I don't remember whether that was a problem in the first Spider-Man for me or not. But, like if I was really getting overwhelmed in Miles, you just sort of, if you did like a jumping venom shot or whatever you want to call it, it kind of cleared everything out a little bit and let you regain control, which I really, and especially once you start to upgrade and the stun actually jumps from character to character if they're close enough. And
yes,
you know, like it really gave you a lot more crowd control options, which I loved because I'm.
And some of the gadgets in the original Spider-Man did allow you to like do a pushback of enemies and things like that. And the electric web, if you upgraded it, did allow it to conduct from various enemies, but it was much more streamlined in Miles Morales, which could be said about the whole game. Just a much more streamlined experience overall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think the first game obviously had maybe because it wasn't as streamlined, the story had more to it. This one's very, you know, very by the numbers, like kind of, I don't know. I liked the story, but it didn't really ever surprise me or anything.
Yeah.
I thought the characters were really good. The story itself was like, you know, this happened. You know, I knew who the Tinkerer was basically partially because of her name. Phineas Mason is the Tinkerer in actual comics.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw the name Rick Mason, I knew for sure who it was. And, you know, it was like, you know, they tend to, you know, I know in the first game, they are always like the best Spider-Man stories are when Peter Parker's world interacts with Spider-Man's world. So they kind of did that with Miles here too, with this whole new character, because Finn is not from the comics. She's brand new.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Tinkerer in the comics is like an old man, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tinkerer is an old man. Even in the Ultimate Universe, there is a Tinkerer who just wasn't there very much. But yeah, the Finn was a brand new character. So that's like why before all this, like, you know, it was like, is this somebody that we already know? But, you know, once the story gets going, I didn't find it very hard to figure out who the Tinkerer was. And they don't keep you waiting long either.
Right.
There's like no mystery there.
I felt like in general, they telegraphed a lot of things because, you know, I mean, and I guess you could say that about the first story too. And your comic knowledge is way deeper than mine ever was or ever will be. But I mean, like, you know, when in the first game, when you're a lab assistant to Otto Octavius, it's like, okay, well, that's Dr. Octopus. I mean, you know, everybody knows that. You think everybody knows that. I knew that.
Even I know about that.
Even CJ knew that.
I know it.
You know, if you watched a Spider-Man cartoon in the 70s or the 90s or whatever, you know who Dr. Octopus is.
Right.
But like, I didn't know enough about like that name didn't give anything away to me. So it was a little bit of a surprise. Although I found that like what you're talking about where they kind of telegraph it with the names, I found that the side quest where there's the mysterious man trying to take over and buy up or sort of grab up all the high value real estate in the area. Who could he be? It's like right from the start. Well, it's Kingpin. I mean, you just
yeah, I knew that.
It almost felt like they tried to pull a bait and switch at one point where it's like they telegraph so completely that it's Kingpin. I decided that must have been that was the twist, is that it actually isn't him. But then when you get there and you get onto like the Skype call or whatever it is from the raft, it's like, oh, it is Kingpin. Okay, it's Kingpin. Like,
yeah,
that was a little disappointing. I think.
Yeah, and there's not much more to it after that either. It was like, you know, we have this Kingpin model, and you know, it's nice to check in on him for the next Peter game that we do, so you know what he's up to. You know, I thought I liked how they brought back Rhino in an interesting way. Actually, the opening of the game is probably my favorite part of the game. Actually,
it's definitely the set piece.
Pretty great.
Yeah, where he's storming through everything, and I thought it was an interesting angle. You know, they give him a new costume. He's never had that red look before, as far as I know. And you know, I think he talked a little more.
The opening is great in part because while you're learning combat, Rhino and Peter Parker or Spider-Man like run through the area where you're fighting several times.
Yeah.
It's just a great little like nod. And they can even, because my daughter was playing it and ran into this, Rhino ran her over.
Really?
During that. So they can interact with the player slightly during that point. But yeah, the opening is great, especially the run through the mall.
Yes.
Yeah. Although I thought that avoiding those obstacles was going to do more than it did. Like, because my daughter hit a bunch of those obstacles and it didn't really impact anything.
Well, it's Rhino
in the scene.
Yeah, I don't think they want you to die really at the beginning of the game there.
That's true. Yeah. They don't want you to fail a mission.
But you can if you fail to pull the baby carriage out of the way. There is a just horrible
fail state for that.
A horrible
my precious antique cans.
Yeah,
right. Speed reference for anyone who's wondering.
Yeah, my cans,
my precious antique cans. No, but I think you're right, like CB, because I was kind of, and I mean, I guess it makes sense where it's more of an origin story to more focus on a very tightly packed narrative, but it definitely doesn't have that epic feel. Like you never have that moment like at the top of the raft when there's like that rogues gallery of Spider-Man enemies that are just beating down Peter Parker. Like,
but I kind of like
didn't exist.
I like the more kind of focused story where it isn't a big we have to save the world or the city or there's a zillion, because that was one of the things
it would have felt out of his ability at that point.
Because that's one of the things that I was a little concerned about going into this game. I was like, boy, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot of supervillains in this game, and there isn't. Whereas the first game, it's chock full of name supervillains. Whereas this one, it's you got Rhino, you have the Tinkerer. If we're counting the Tinkerer as one of you got Prowler, but Prowler
and Simon Krieger. Guess how many comic books Simon Krieger?
He's actually been in a comic book.
He's been in a comic book. That surprises me. I'm gonna say 1.
2.
Okay.
Guess what superhero he's associated with?
The Daredevil. Flash.
Iron Man. The Flash.
The Flash.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe this was some crazy crossover. I don't know.
I read it a few days ago, like looking into the video I'm working on, because I'd never heard of him. I didn't know anything about him.
Right.
It was actually a really good, like, kind of.
Well, he makes sense as an Iron Man villain, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
An evil industrialist kind of guy.
Yeah, and he basically does the same kind of shtick. He's not quite. He's an executive, but he's not like the head guy.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's like kind of like an early Iron Man story. Like it's from 1998, but it's told like it's from like 1964 or something like that. It's from the perspectives of Pepper and Happy Hogan. But yeah, it's the characterization's pretty similar. He does some different things. Like he actually like dresses up as Tony Stark at one point in the comic book.
Oh, really?
And convinces the world that Tony Stark is a bad guy because he says something on camera.
Oh, he does that shtick. The whole like, I'm gonna ruin the hero's reputation thing.
Right. Yeah. But it's weird, there's like a panel where Spider-Man is in it just like reacting to the news going on. That's the closest association that he has to Spider-Man. There's nothing Simon Krieger about Spider-Man. It's just an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Not that there are any like iconic Roxxon executives.
Right.
Is Roxxon a thing from the comics too?
Yeah, Roxxon is mainly an Iron Man villain, but they're in everything. They're kind of omnipresent.
Somebody remind me, because this is one of the things. This was a connection that I didn't make to the previous game. Was Roxxon in the previous game?
The gas stations were, and the building. I think.
So how did they come to such prominence that they've got like an army that's openly allowed to patrol New York? Like,
you gotta turn. I mean, how did one teenage girl create like an arm's worth of weapons for
that's comic book logic?
Basically, it's like
I don't know. I feel like it was the bigger leap that they were just that they were policing. Of New York.
Basically, a corporation owns a military force that is allowed to just freely roam the streets with their heavy weapons and like tanks.
That's the thing. Like when the underground attacks that festival, right out front of the Roxxon headquarters in Harlem, that was the thing that got me, was like, wait a minute, why do they have armed guards and tanks? Like, and why is that okay? I don't understand what the anyway. Yeah,
comic books.
Comic books.
But yeah, I think I like the smaller scale of the story, and it works because obviously this is a game that is meant to be smaller than what we had before. I mean, it's certainly like a third of the length of the first Spider-Man game. And the story it's telling, it's not supposed to be a big, we got to save the world or the city. It is
gotta save Harlem.
This is Miles growing into.
It's a big chunk of the city. It's a big chunk of saving the city.
But
that's true. Saving the city.
Yeah, but it's not like, there's like half a dozen supervillains coming after him. It's just, it's very much a more personal. This story is more about Miles becoming Spider-Man and deciding what type of hero he wants to be, and indeed becoming like Harlem's Spider-Man, becoming that hero, as opposed to I gotta take down Doc Ock and Scorpion and Electro, or whoever was in that first game.
Well, at the same time, you kind of see Finn's journey on becoming a villain too, right? Like, because they have the flashback to the science fair, and
where you get to see Peter and Octavius, which I thought
Octavius.
was
nice. I thought that whole sequence was a little late. Like,
really,
it was so late in the story that like I felt like it would have meant more when she reveals herself if it had happened earlier. Maybe
I could say that.
I think that's probably true. But then, like, seeing her working with Rick in the accident that happens. Now, you never actually see Rick die, right? Because I mean, he gets.
You see him in that dome.
Yeah,
you see like
we can assume he's
like
dead,
the energy is kind of coursing through him.
But it's a comic book video game. Is he really dead? We didn't see him.
I would like to think that this universe, at least for now, is so small that if somebody dies, they really die.
Yeah.
I kind of hope so.
At no point that I think that he
mainly because
he's going to show up as like the Tinkerer 2.
Yeah. Not only is that like just such a tired trope anyway, but
it's true.
It just completely nullifies Finn's entire reason and story.
Right.
Arc in this game.
It would be like if, I don't know, let's just say like you have this whole thing about Anakin Skywalker growing into the most powerful Jedi and like defeating the force of evil, and then just they decide to bring him back. We're going to bring the villain back,
Right.
Yeah.
But there are some points in the story where Finn
Rise of Skywalker was a terrible movie.
I liked it.
Seems to be a little wishy-washy in terms of she discovers, he pulls off the mask, she discovers what's happening, and then like it kind of goes back and forth wrestling with her direction that she's going to blow up.
Nobody seems to be that shocked that Miles is the new Spider-Man.
No.
Yeah,
his uncle, his best friend, his mother.
Mom took it really well.
Mom did take it
really well.
Like I could see Uncle Aaron taking it well because he's got his secret
villain. Yeah.
And but Mom took it real well.
Mom got over it pretty fast.
Yeah,
and then sent him into danger.
Yeah,
I saw some criticism of the plot online saying that every time Miles like wanted to tell Finn what was going to happen if she did, if she went through with her plan, he's like, I have some very important information. Like never actually gets to spit it out. It's like just get to the point. And that
if
was
you would
sort
just
of a
listen
break
to the words that I am about to say to you right now, that I will explain what is happening. Surely then it will change your mind if you stop. Yeah. Why did you hit me? I was just about to say it.
It didn't bother me while playing the game, but when pointed out online, I was like, oh yeah, that was kind of.
I will say though, I think that and because it's such a more compact story, they did a wonderful job sort of having Miles deal with being a teenager, and trying to do, like, he voices it multiple times where he's trying to make things better, and he thinks he's constantly making things worse.
Right.
Like I think it's super effective in the story, and I think that it's kind of interesting that at the exact same time as you're going through and you're clearing out the underground and Roxxon sort of enclaves throughout the city, and you're talking to what's her name there, the podcaster who ends up helping you with a lot, and I forget her name.
Danica.
Yeah. You're talking to Danica. It's becoming very clear that you're actually mopping up what was left behind from what Peter did in the previous game, the vacuum that was left when he was taking down villains like Tombstone and everything, because you keep hearing about how the underground rose to prominence because they were feuding with like Tombstone's gang, and then Tombstone got taken out by Peter and they rose to prominence. So it's like they never come out and actually say it, but when you listen to him constantly getting upset about how he seems to be making everything worse, he's actually really dealing with the exact same issue based on Peter's actions from the previous game, which I thought was a really sort of nice parallel. He doesn't seem to get it, but it's there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Now, as an open world game, it has the large New York map, just like the original Spider-Man game, but there's a lot fewer things to do in the city, and honestly I appreciated that quite a bit when I went back to play Spider-Man Remastered, and I think now I've unlocked all of the things, the different activities you can do in that game. The map is just littered with icons.
Yeah, there are
and
a lot to do.
I'm very much towards
I
the
remember
end
a lot of
that
those
game,
I didn't really understand what I was doing, like in terms of like actually like making it better.
Like finding things
better. Like what
pigeons.
was the heroic like I run through rings in a matter of time, or
like the pigeons, which do come back for a side.
I like that they poke fun of the pigeons. So
it was fun to see the pigeons again.
Yeah, even in the ending,
that was a memorable. That was memorable. But yeah, I just remember like in Spider-Man, the first one, there were some missions where I was like, what am I doing? Like some of the hairy missions are like, okay, I'll do this, but I don't want to
fly through these smoke clouds and then
like how is that?
Well, again, that's one of the
like that.
It's one of the things I really appreciate about this game is I know people have complained about, it's too short, and we've talked on the show plenty of times that's not a bad thing necessarily because you end up with, this is probably what if you played through it like trying to complete everything, it's probably 10 hours.
I played for 13 hours.
Okay. I played for 12.
I rolled credits and then did those final 2 missions in
10, 15
I probably
hours.
played more than that, but that's because I like go looking for Easter eggs everywhere.
Right, of course. Yeah. But so you have like a 10, 15 hour experience that is super tightly packed.
Yes.
And there's no dead air. There's no filler.
No dead air.
It's everything you're doing feels like you're working towards that goal or in service of the story, whether it is a furtherance of the plot, like, we got to go do a mission, or if it just turns out you're being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for 15 minutes as you go rescue some pigeons or something.
Yeah, I like it as those moments where it's just like, what can I do to be a hero right now?
Yeah. And I love the addition of the app.
Yes. Yeah.
Genki knows what he's doing.
I love being able to spawn crimes if you needed to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you always
there's a pretty fun Genki Easter egg in there. Like, in the comics, Genki is a lot heavier, and he looks a lot like Ned in the new Spider-Man movies. I love Homecoming. I love Far From Home, but I hate how they basically stole the character of Genki. Yeah, they basically made him a totally different character.
Ned is Genki.
Can I question real quick before you get off on this? Because my kids were watching Into the Spider-Verse, and I just watched it this weekend or this week as well.
Yeah.
Is Miles' roommate, who he never actually speaks to,
that's Genki?
That's based on Genki, right?
It is Genki.
It is Genki. Okay.
Yeah. Still thinner than the comics, though.
Yeah.
Comics, he's pretty pudgy.
He's a heavyset kid. Yeah.
Yeah, but so anyway, in the comics, he's that character, and then the MCU basically stole him for the last few Spider-Man movies, and then but if you look in this movie, in Genki, this game in Genki's bio, it's like it says alias is guy in the chair, which was what Ned called himself in Homecoming. Right. So it's kind of like the circle is now complete kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Funny.
It's too bad I mean, it was terrible that they stole Miles's buddy from him and then just and made him like looked and act. I mean, even like the whole thing with his obsession with Lego in the movie that's taken from the comics too. Right. The whole like, but whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm glad Genki's in this game. I'm glad he has an active role. I love all the characters in this game.
All the characters are really well played.
Yeah, and they
also,
by the way, interact with each other wonderfully. Yes,
the voice acting and just the characterization of all these characters is fantastic.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
top notch,
absolutely
stuff. And I don't know if they did motion capture or performance capture, what they did, but everybody just looks great.
Yeah, it's really well done.
I think that all the cinematics are real time on PS5.
I think so.
I believe so.
Couldn't tell if I was looking at FMV or not anymore, but yeah.
I mean, it always has the costume you're wearing, so that kind of
oh, that's true. Right? That's true.
Yeah.
Good point.
I did. I played through it twice. I got the platinum. I played through. I did. Nice. I beat it, and then I plowed through it again to get the in New Game Plus, and I got the platinum. And the second time I played, I just critical pathed it. Just went. Yeah, I just went straight through it. Went from story beat to story beat. It's very quick if you just go story beat to story beat. It's maybe 5 hours.
Okay.
If you just ignore all the side stuff, which you can do, and you're in New Game Plus, so you're probably just about fully powered up anyway, so there's no reason to even bother with the side stuff. And I was skipping cinematics whenever I could, and that's the weird thing. And what got me thinking about this, CJ, was you wondering if all the cinematics were real time.
Mm-hmm.
You can skip some of them, but not all of them.
Huh.
And it was very weird because sometimes you'll be in the middle of a talkie scene and you hit start and there'll be an option to skip cinematic, which cool. I'm going to do it. I've seen this already. Mm-hmm. But then like another cinematic comes up and you can't skip it for whatever reason. So you got to sit there for 3 minutes and watch it play out. So,
okay.
I don't know the logic behind it. I don't know if there's some technical reason. I don't know if, how they have it working, but yeah, you can't skip all the cinematics.
Okay.
But it's great.
Yeah. Talk to me about the Prowler, because I'm not familiar with this character.
I was actually going to say, like, the Prowler I thought was, I think this is my favorite of the three. Actually, there's 4 Prowlers, because there's, in Homecoming.
Donald Glover.
Yeah, Donald Glover. Yeah, Donald Glover.
Wait, what? Remind me of that, because I don't remember exactly what.
They're in a garage, and I forget what the actual situation is, but Spider-Man webs him up, and at one point he's
I think he was like
go save
selling
Harlem.
Weapons.
My nephew lives there, or Brooklyn. My nephew lives there.
I think he was selling weapons, right? And like Peter confronts him.
You're
like
correct.
That.
Yes.
Yeah. And he thwips and ropes his hand onto his trunk and.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember him now. Yeah,
he's joking. He's like, I got ice cream in the trunk or something like that.
Right.
And if you look really close, like through his he has like Spider-Man has this system that Tony Stark gave him that identifies things, and it actually says Alias the Prowler in it. But anyway, of all the iterations of the Prowler so far, I think this one was actually my favorite, because you really did get the idea that he was kind of in this, and because he has to be. Like he made some bad decisions a long time ago and he just can't get out of it. Whereas like in the comics, he's just a total dick.
Really?
Oh yeah. And in the Spider-Verse, it's kind of, I would say, in between the comics and this.
Watching the Spider-Verse, I would have to say, and I praise that movie up and down, but yeah, I wasn't as crazy about his depiction in that. I like the relationship that he has with Miles in that movie, but it's kind of like, oh, and by the way, I'm the Prowler, and that's kind of, I don't know.
I loved Uncle Aaron in Spider-Verse.
I liked Uncle Aaron, but I just as the Prowler, he didn't do much for me, because his realization seems to be it seems strange to me that he only realizes like the third time he chases Miles that he realizes who he is, especially the first time Miles is in any kind of costume or covering or anything. But anyway,
it's definitely more of a surprise to find out their relationship in that movie if you didn't read the comics.
Right. Yeah.
Again, in this, they just kind of assume you know that already. I think.
Yeah.
And there's,
Yeah. But I did like, and I know Phil, I think you called out the finding the sounds was probably your least favorite thing to do.
Yeah, did not like that.
I totally get.
That's what I went to YouTube for a few times to be like, okay, how can I get through this one as quickly as possible?
I did too.
I love the costume you get out of it though, and I like when they have costumes where it makes sense. Like that actually made sense. Like there was a narrative to getting that costume.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of them are just like completely random.
Oh, now you have this costume.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're cool costumes. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's like, where did it really come from?
But I really like too that they gave you an opportunity to hear him talking about his relationship with Miles's dad.
Yeah.
And the breakdown of that relationship, right? I mean, it doesn't 100% explain how he got backed into the situation that he's in now, because he's clearly, into somebody for something. But I really liked, and of course, when you combine that with the postcard mission, post ending, which was pretty emotional, it's like I really loved the backstory they were able to build for Miles and his family just through the audio files from Aaron and his dad.
Yeah, those postcard ones have one of the most obscure Easter eggs in the game.
Really?
You guys heard the lobster, the big lobster place?
Yeah.
There was an X-Men offshoot called Fallen Angels. Actually, a New Mutants offshoot called Fallen Angels.
Okay.
And this was like an 8-issue thing, really short.
And this was just to clarify, this was it was like a seafood restaurant or something, right?
Oh yeah, you come across a seafood restaurant that has a huge green lobster.
Yes.
And it's called Lobster Bills. So in this comic, there's 2 lobsters. There's Bill the lobster and his brother Dom the lobster, who's a blue lobster, and they are cybernetic lobsters.
Wow.
Who were, I forget why they were operated on and made cybernetic, but they have like.
So wait, they're just lobsters that someone decided to graft robot parts
something
to?
like that. Yeah.
Okay.
One's green and one's blue for some reason.
Okay. Blue lobsters are rare, so.
Eventually, have you guys heard of Devil Dinosaur?
Yes, I have heard of Devil Dinosaur.
There's a character called Devil Dinosaur. And he's just a big dinosaur basically, and he crushes Dom, like kills him. This is an accident. So there's only Bill. So that's the reason I think that there's only Bill there. You don't see Dom. But yeah, he's a big green lobster. It's an obscure X-Men reference. That's it.
Wow.
Bill the lobster.
This is why everyone needs to go watch Seabake's YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
You find out crap.
To be honest, I learned that from an online story. I don't think I would have investigated it and maybe found out myself. Like Rick Mason, for example, I found out about nothing like the character in this game. Rick Mason
really
is related to Tinkerer.
Yeah,
but he's the Tinkerer's son.
And I know this is a different universe. This is DC, but is Metamorpho, was he Rex Mason?
I don't know. You got me there.
Really?
You got me there.
I know?
Stumped
Hold on, I'm gonna look this up. But
no, so Rick Mason is also like not a scientist or anything like that. He's a secret agent guy. His code name is the Agent.
Oh, very descriptive.
He's Rick Mason.
It's a good thing they didn't call him the secret
agent,
because that would give it away.
And for the record, yes, Rex Mason is indeed Metamorpho, the Element Man, over in DC Comics. So I know officially more about comics than Chris Baker.
I don't think that proves that at all.
Been proven.
Former Marvel employee. I guess that's what it is. You used to work at Marvel, so
I did, yeah.
So you weren't allowed to know anything about DC.
My former intern and coworker there at Marvel is now he's been a games guy at DC for years. Randy Ma. Demonic Murray. Yeah, you guys all know.
I know Demonic Murray.
Absolutely.
Well, there you go. He's probably pulling his hair in frustration about how you did not know who Metamorpho was. What kind of friend are you?
Yeah,
not knowing Metamorpho.
I guess I'll never actually work there. I just failed.
That's it. You just failed your DC interview.
That's all it is.
That was the first question.
Using a Foreman grill at my cube is fine, but you know.
What's Metamorpho's real name?
Metamorpho's real name, yeah.
Geez, I don't know. Well, we have no place for you in this company, sir.
We've just filled the position.
Oh man.
So do we want to talk about our favorite combat set pieces? Because this game has a couple of memorable ones. Obviously, the one at the beginning with Rhino, and then there's the bridge fight.
Yeah.
And there's fight inside Roxxon after Krieger traps you in with a bunch of the security guards, and then of course the fight at the end with Finn. What did you guys think of those set pieces versus the original 2018 Spider-Man game?
Yeah, I told you my favorite was the Rhino one, which I think is on par with anything from that first game for sure. I think I would have liked the bridge maybe more, but I saw that was like their trailer. And
that was their.
I knew it really well because I did a video about it. So
that's right.
There's no real surprises for me there. It was a little. It played out a little differently, but not that much. It wasn't like
the most
cinematic
the
first game where they totally changed a lot of things from the Meet Mr. Negative. But yeah, it was. That might be objectively the best part, but the Rhino one I didn't really know that much about. I think I'd seen a couple of screenshots.
Yeah.
And the ending is cool. I don't think it lives up to the other stuff though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that last fight was fine, but it wasn't a cinematic set piece like some of the earlier things were, which maybe.
And I love the ending. I absolutely love the ending. I thought
the ending fight or the ending as a whole.
The whole.
Okay.
Right. I liked the confrontation with Finn, and I certainly got very emotional during the actual ending cinematics.
You know what? That was the thing for me, was that I knew it was frustrating that Finn wouldn't see reason, but she felt she'd been lied to. You know what I mean? And you knew you were leading up to some kind of emotional gut punch.
Right.
Yeah.
So you saw it coming a mile away.
Of course. But
then when it happened, I was still like, man.
I mean, after the fight, as you're fighting her and the reactor's going off.
Yeah.
And it's
very dramatic.
And it's very clearly not stable.
Yeah.
And as the fight progresses and she's starting to realize that it's not stable, and she's starting to realize, oh crap, I messed this up. And there's that moment when the thing explodes and she falls out of the building and you jump after her and you're grabbing her, and she just as you're falling, she just looks at you and she's just like, I'm sorry. And Miles is just like, it's okay. And he shields her as they land. And I was just like, that's amazing. I loved that. And then then you had that whole him crawling towards it.
That whole Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh, absolutely. It was absolutely a metal. Yes, it was. It was the microwave tunnel. And everything after that obviously was I thought was beautifully done.
Yeah, when she launched up into the sky and she was telling her to let go, and like she clearly know what's about to happen. But I think the acting really sold it in general, because then when he's laying on the ground sobbing, when his mother comes over to him, you really felt it. I feel like the moments leading up to it weren't as dramatic as Peter fighting Octavius,
right?
Because I just the father-son sort of relationship that they had felt like a much bigger betrayal. And he was so, again, it was the acting that did it, but he was so upset about it and it was really affecting him.
Yeah.
But I think while it was happening, it wasn't as impactful as that fight was. But then when you combine that with the postcard mission post ending,
right?
When you're listening to his dad, first of all, that's emotional anyway, because you're listening to his dead father clearly making plans for them a year ago. To bond as a father and son, and also sort of coming to grips with his relationship with his brother at the same time. But then you also hear him refer multiple times to Finn as kind of their adopted daughter.
Right. Right.
So it really sort of drives home what's just happened even more. And I feel like that's when the impact really started to set in. Whereas with Peter and Octavius, it was very immediate.
Yeah. Right. I did think that when Miles is lying on the ground and he's all busted up after having just fallen back to Earth, and his mom comes over and he's kind of like, Finn, he's like kind of, and then his mom's just like, what? And then when he was like, she owed me $20, I thought that really took some of the steam.
Very IT crowd moment
out of the scene. But I mean, I get it.
Yeah, that's true.
Money's money.
And he was like gonna collect interest on that too.
Yeah, it was a weird.
Lived a little bit longer.
Yeah.
That's straight out of the comics.
Yeah. Oh, but see, there you go. There's another
right.
Easter egg.
No, actually, I do wonder if the comics, because Finn seems to be such a popular character. By the way, the number of people playing this game is probably more than have ever read Miles Morales comics.
Right.
So it wouldn't surprise me if this is a new Harley Quinn situation where the character originates in a different medium and becomes, a comic book character that's well liked.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe she would be the Tinker, because there already is a Tinkerer.
Right.
But I could see that happening in some way. I kind of wish like there had been something to cushion Miles in some way, because that took me out of it a little, because like he's not Superman. He's
he did fall.
His
from
body
a very
is
large
our
height.
body. He's just much more agile and he does heal faster.
Yeah, it was because
faster.
Like Pete has a healing factor, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. It's not Wolverine, but yeah, it's
right.
It is it does help heal faster.
Right.
Over a course of days.
Yeah.
There's like little things like that. I was like, we could have done something.
Like you almost wish that they'd shown him like whip a web out that maybe broke, but at least slowed the momentum of the fall a little bit.
Yeah, or like Prowler had jumped in and cushioned his fall or
yeah.
something. I don't know. It's just a nitpick.
A pillow truck crashes into the scene.
I mean, there was a lot of chaos there. So
my pillows.
I thought there could have been something really cool done with the calendar at this point, where like
Calendar Man was Batman. That's DC.
Yeah.
See, this is why you didn't get that DC job.
So the rally they establish in the game kind of quietly, but they do that it was on Christmas Day. So a few days of things play out. This could have happened like New Year's Eve when everybody's gathered in Times Square. Maybe there's fireworks going off. I think it could have been a cool like juxtaposition to have like all this celebration over here and a bunch of people who might die and they don't even know it.
Right.
And you could have played with the timing. It's a very New York thing. I wish they just another nitpick, but
could have worked Boxing Day into it somehow.
Very good.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
All the holiday shoppers on the streets.
Missing. Something cute that I didn't notice the first time I played through, but playing through it the second time. And I think it's probably playing to the kind of tight knittedness of Harlem and the people who live there. Is people kind of show up at random points through the game. And you may not necessarily notice it like the first time around. Like, the big one that stood out to me was Haley, who we talked about earlier, who's the young the deaf girl who Miles helps out later in the game. She shows up like at the very beginning of the game. She's helping paint the mural. Outside Miles's apartment.
And then you run into her
and other
various times too.
Well, when you go into Teo's, the bodega,
that's right. She's
coming out of the place, and there's kind of a moment where you almost bump into her and you kind of hesitate, and she kind of smiles at you and then goes on her way. And I didn't, when I first played through the game, I didn't even really pay attention because like, you know, the scene with the mural, you only interact with the guy who's painting. You know, you don't, you know, she's just
That's
kind
true,
of there
yeah.
in the background, sort of helping out, and then, you know, you run into her at the store. But I just kind of figured those were just random NPC characters that didn't have any sort of bearing on the story or anything. But then it turns out it's all one rich tapestry.
Yeah, they got a lot of use out of that character model.
Yeah.
They
got a lot of use
That's a
out of
cynical
that
game dev,
character. She's a character, Seabake. She's a character that they didn't have to pay to hire a voice actor for. So yeah, put that on your cynical list, you jerk.
Speaking I think one of the accessibility options is ASL. You can turn on or leave off the subtitles for the sign language bits with Haley.
Yeah, well, same thing with all the Spanish that's being spoken. I assume if you have subtitles turned off, you don't see the English translation for those.
Well, I think you can also have Haley's dialogue read.
I think you can too. Yeah, you're right.
I believe there was an accessibility, but this game is chock-a-block full of accessibility options.
Yeah, Sony's really good about
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, they really are. It's fantastic.
Which I turned on a bunch of them for my daughter to play.
Wow.
The game.
Good.
And it was very accessible to her after I turned on a lot of those options.
Yeah, Ethan was telling me that his son was playing in a way that you can't die. Like you just can't die.
Yeah, if you play on the lowest difficulty, you can't get knocked out during battles.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I when I did my second playthrough in New Game Plus, I went in and because I beat it on the normal.
Oh, did you?
What's whatever the normal difficulty
Friendly is the first step down.
Friendly is the step down. Which is what I played in.
I played through it on normal at first, and then when for New Game Plus I knocked it down to friendly is the second easiest.
Yeah.
Okay, I knocked it down to friendly at first.
Friendly neighborhood I think is the very easiest. Or something
yes.
Because I still needed to get that 100 times combo. So I didn't want to have it on the easiest difficulty because I figured that, you know, I wouldn't have enough goons rushing at me, or I would defeat them too quickly to get to 100 hits.
I know somebody whose first trophy was that.
What?
I know. Chris Clow, a guy who runs a really good comic book game podcast called Comics on Consoles. We have like a little, you know, my comic book gaming Twitter has, you know, we have our own little cliques, and he was like, yeah, you know, this is my first trophy, and it was that.
What? Like,
that's like the one I'll never get.
It means
where would you get that early on, like before any of the big story beats?
I don't know. But he did it.
With just like endless goons rushing out while Peter's fighting Rhino in the background or something.
Maybe.
That's weird, man. That actually was the one that gave me the most trouble.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet. And
it was the one that was most difficult for me. I would get up to like 50 or 60 and then end up taking a hit or something. And one time I got up to 90 before I lost the combo, which was very frustrating. But well, what I ended up doing was going to one of like the underground hideouts, like up in one of the construction sites, and just, you know, normally I would go around and stealth as much of that as I could until I got spotted. But this one I just dove in and just started punching dudes, and then they call for reinforcements. So there's kind of you know, sort of
you turn off that perk that stops them from calling people.
Oh, is that an option you can?
I think that is, or maybe I'm thinking of Spider-Man Remastered.
You can. Well, I mean, I'm assuming if it's in Remastered, it's in here too, where you can
maybe
disable reinforcements. But But once I got that the 100 hit combo, then I dropped it down to the friendly neighborhood difficulty and just plowed through it.
Yes. So we got a tweet.
Oh.
I asked for tweets about Miles Morales. We got one. We got a tweet about like, where can I
Clearly
buy a PS5?
This game is bombing. Oh wait, it's just about where can I get a PS5
so that I can play Miles Morales? Yeah. Or should I start this game? I've heard that it has so many technical problems, etc. In which case that person would not be listening to this spoiler cast, I would hope. But we got one from Hacker Alias and Sipid Ghost, friend of the show, Luke Lore, who says, finished it yesterday and loved it. I'm curious, though, what you guys think of the end credit stinger, which we can talk about the ending.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it gets me very excited for how they'll use their Insomniac Spider-Verse to tell the next Spider-Man story. I have a theory, which he doesn't go into.
What was the stinger at the end of the first Spider-Man?
It was pretty similar. This is sort of a continuation, just to remind you that it's happening. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Osborn with his son in a tank, right?
Yeah, it's basically insinuating that Osborn is creating Venom through his son. Which is different than the comics, and that may not be what it is. It could be a fake out.
Wait, what? He's creating Venom through his son?
Yeah.
How do you get that?
Yeah, where did you get that?
Well, if you look, there's like black goo everywhere in that tank.
Oh, there was green goo.
And there's some black goo.
Black goo in there.
You know what? Okay. You're right. Yes.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, it's totally what it is. I think also that the all that stuff at the Oscorp space, whatever, like Oscorp has been the top,
space exploration.
Everything spacey, like that is actually setting up where the alien goop came from that he's been using.
So what you're saying is the next game will be Spider-Man in space. I see where you're going with this, and I like it.
Yeah.
From beyond the moon.
You joke, but you got to think too. Like, are they just going to do New York again?
That's a question I have as well. Like, would they do New York again? Would
kind of, as a Spider-Man game, you feel like you kind of have to, but as a game,
it's like, Peter Parker's San Francisco adventure.
So you're saying New Jersey? They're going to go to New Jersey?
Who's the Spider-Man of Hoboken? We're gonna find out next
time.
Actually,
there's people talking like maybe they go to Simcaria, where Silver Sable's from.
Well,
they were selling like that. Like
hard.
It's sort of a prequel or a midquel, I guess.
Well, what's really exciting
is Simcaria is where Peter is this whole time, right?
Right.
Oh yeah.
So like that's what that's kind of the theory is that's what you play.
But then they're really not going to be able to pay off that whole Venom tease.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
Well, they're teasing the fourth Spider-Man game through these stingers.
Yeah.
I don't know that you want to wait too long for Venom though.
Right. And I mean, the thing is, like, are they going to go through with making Harry Osborn Venom instead of Eddie Brock? Which, is something that's been done, actually. It was done in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. That's where Harry Osborn was Venom. Personally, I'd like to see Eddie Brock, hopefully, like, Eddie becomes Venom.
You're hoping to get Topher Grace to come in and
finally. No. That was awful. But however they choose to do it, I'll go in with an open mind. I'd prefer Eddie Brock just as a Eddie Brock fan.
I just want to get to the point where we have a good Carnage.
Yeah, well,
in the game.
Oh,
because he's
Woody
cool.
Harrelson.
Let there be carnage.
Get Woody Harrelson on the horn.
Yeah.
So in the Venom movie, when Eddie Brock crawls into that lobster tank and he's eating that lobster, is that cyborg lobster?
Maybe they'll retcon it to that. Why not?
Is that the Easter egg?
Yeah, they don't have the rights. They flatly don't have the rights in a Sony movie to do that.
Because it's a New Mutants thing, right?
It's a New Mutants thing, yes.
So they don't have the rights to the cybernetic lobster.
No.
The whole 10 pages of the contract.
Is that in the contract? Is that spelled out? I hope it is.
Probably. I mean, I don't know if it like the lobster specifically is mentioned.
No, it needs to be specifically spelled out. You cannot use the cybernetic lobster. Lobster Bill, you said?
And somebody at Sony was like, man,
Bill the Lobster.
Bill the Lobster.
I'm
sorry.
His name.
I'm sorry.
Lobster Bill's is the name of the restaurant.
Okay, that's what it is.
One thing I'm curious about, though, just in general, and maybe this has been answered before, is just how much freedom Insomniac has with the universe of characters, right? Like if we're talking about Venom being somebody who was not Venom in the comics very much and was only in the animated series, like how much freedom do they have there?
I think
or what's that process even like?
As they can prove out to be a good story.
Yeah.
Or they definitely do work closely with Marvel. to make this stuff happen. God, what am I? There's something.
Is there like a panel of people who go through the story beats and make sure that this sounds like something we'd want?
I used to. That used to be my show. No, you know, when I was there, and it's different now, but when I was there, you would tend to kind of try to promote the characters that were relevant to Marvel at the time.
Yeah.
That's why Rocket Raccoons and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, nobody heard of them at the time. You know, stuff like that. But yeah, I think Insomniac, from what I understand, has, you know, they have some pretty free reign to do what they want with these characters so long as it's, you know, viable, because it's very defined as a universe. It is Earth 1048 as opposed to Earth 616, which is the mainstream Marvel universe, or Earth 1610, which was the Ultimate Universe, which was destroyed during the Secret Wars.
Got all that?
Yeah.
If this is going to be our after show quiz, we are all going to do
it. Just give us minus 1,000 each and let's be done with it.
Exactly.
But actually, can we go back to Luke's question? Because I don't think we fully answered it.
What do we think is happening there with the Stinger?
So I do think Venom is going to be the main villain, whether that turns out to be Harry or somehow Eddie. You know, we'll see.
Yeah.
You know, the other interesting part about that Stinger that was not in the first one was that if you look at the subtitles, anyway, it says Kirk Connors, the Lizard.
Right.
Yeah.
Who actually was referenced in the first game.
Doesn't Norman say Dr. Connors at one point? I thought he did.
So.
Anyway,
he does. He actually,
and the subtitles actually do say Kurt Connors specifically, so there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So, you know, is the Lizard going to play a role in that? I think it's about time to have the Lizard in.
Yeah.
Does he just have one arm? Does the character in the game?
I didn't notice. I
didn't either.
I don't think he ever turned to the camera enough to notice it. He always had kind of his back turned talking to Norman.
Yeah, but you know, the Lizard apparently like is in one of the backpacks that you get in the first game, and he's also like, if you look really deep, he's like Peter's physician, like Kirk Connors.
I think if you
broken arm or something.
if you go into the graveyard, you can find Jefferson Davis's grave. You can find Uncle Ben and Aunt May's. You can also find Kurt Connors' arms.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. So that's some foreshadowing there.
Forearm shadowing.
And there's a little chameleon crawling on his gravestone for it.
I see.
So it's all part of the plan.
Wait, if there's a chameleon, is the chameleon?
Well, that's going to be the big twist. Turns out Kurt Connors was the chameleon the whole time.
Right.
And the real Kurt Connors is Venom.
Wow.
Yep, that's the big reveal.
Why aren't you writing these stories, Phil?
Nobody listens to me.
You know, Brian, you can get the in.
I don't. I know. That's true.
He's been liking my screenshot tweets from Spider-Man.
Oh, has he now?
Oh, by the way, do you know that one of the writers on this particular game is former journalist Evan Narcisse?
Oh, is that right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Kotaku, Newsweek. He wrote actually on Kotaku back when he was there. He would often write a lot of like think pieces about Black Panther, and eventually he got a job doing a Black Panther miniseries for Marvel. So he actually like 3 or 4 years ago wrote an actual Marvel canon Black Panther story, and then maybe through Brian, I don't know, but they got him on this game. I don't know if he's like the lead writer or just like helping out, but he's definitely part of it.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So talking about the sequel, we kind of danced around talking about New York or a different setting. What would you guys prefer? Would you like New York a third time, or is that setting?
I'd like some New York for sure in some capacity. I think just addressing this issue, there was Spider-Man Web of Shadows, which kind of gave you like a different take on New York, but then they added like the symbiote stuff taking all over. So that made it feel different. Beyond the fact that it was a different developer than like Spider-Man 2 and Ultimate Spider-Man. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's a legitimate question. Like, are people going to get tired? Because a city doesn't change. Like, maybe there's some earth-shattering event. Maybe
bring in the
instead
Watchmen.
of coronavirus, some horrible thing happens to New York in the year 2020. One thing I like about this series of games that I hope they stick with, and it was downplayed in this one, but there is a calendar. Like, the first game was in 2018. And then this is a year later, so it's the Christmas of 2019, which explains why there's no coronavirus yet.
Oh, okay.
So I'd like to see them keep with that. I don't know if they will, because it was pretty downplayed this time.
Yeah.
But I think that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like someone in the chat says Spider-Man 2099. Maybe go to the future. That'd be interesting.
Sure.
Nueva York is what it's known as in 2099.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's it. That's the post-credits scene in Spider-Verse.
That is true.
True. Yes. But I think other places it could go. London is a place where Gwen Stacy spent a lot of time, and we don't know what Gwen Stacy is in this universe. They've never referred to her in any way.
Well, and Harry is overseas, right? Or he was overseas.
Oh yeah.
He was overseas. Yeah.
He
Now
never.
We don't know.
He never was. That was a cover.
Well, we don't necessarily know where this lab is that he's being.
Yes, we do.
On.
That was in the previous game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's.
Oh, okay.
It's in.
I don't know. Maybe I just assumed it's in New York too. But
no, I'm pretty sure you get into. You don't see him, but you get into an area that looks like that in the previous game, in one of Oscorp's buildings or something. I for some reason I remember that.
Yeah. Also, Simcaria was something I mentioned earlier, because that's not a real place. You can do anything with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a mention of Wakanda in here at some point?
Yeah, I don't see Wakanda, because Wakanda's very closed off.
Yeah, it's true.
That would almost have to be a Black Panther game.
There's an embassy.
Yeah.
That would be okay.
Embassy.
That's where I remember hearing it, the Wakanda embassy or something like that.
Yeah.
There's also a one of the time capsules is a Wakandan
has
flag.
The flag. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Let me, on the subject
time capsules
of these time capsules. Now,
they make as much sense as the backpacks from the last
when
game.
when you were in middle school, when you were like 13, did you and your friend have free reign of the entirety of New York City?
Well, did you live in New York City?
Well, no, I didn't. But
and did we scale to places only Spider-Man could get to now?
Like, did you
stuff? Yeah, of course.
I mean,
I know
that
it was difficult to get to some of those spots.
I mean, I've been to Times Square, and certainly like the giant TV screens in Times Square were just lousy with preteens crawling up, hiding secret boxes up there.
Sure.
That somehow remain there, years
5
later.
Years later.
Yeah. Hey, we're at a construction site. Oh, they're about to put a fountain in. Quick. Let's hide some of our memorable valuables underneath.
Actually, that was one of the most believable ones.
Well,
surely
in the
we
first
can
game,
recover this. We'll just
in the
tear
first game,
down.
like all the backpacks. That's what it was like 50 backpacks that Peter had, right?
Yeah.
55. And they're all suspended with webbing that the game itself actually says the webbing only holds stuff for an hour.
Yeah.
So
or like, hey, Miles, it's me, your Uncle Aaron. I set up a holographic projector in the middle of Central Park, and it's not even like tucked away. It's like right in the middle of a bridge over a little pond. Yeah. And you can just go there and it'll.
Well, games like this, you have the mix of the comic book logic we kind of referred to earlier and the video game logic.
Yeah.
So
I just
you
remember,
kind of have to be like, I'm actually a big fan of making things as organic as possible, but the bigger thing is having fun.
I just remember going into Central Park, and there was Uncle Aaron's little projector on a bridge, and there were two other pedestrians just kind of standing there. And I just walk up, hey, don't mind me, I'm just Spider-Man. Yeah, my uncle left something here for me. Yeah, this machinery. That's hold on. Let me just turn this on.
Yeah.
Oh no, he wants me to go record some ducks or something. Don't mind.
Yeah.
You guys can go about your. This is Spider-Man business. My uncle needs a recording of some ducks.
Yeah.
Way too much thought into this.
I mean, there's tons of stuff you can nitpick like that. Like, if you're wearing a different costume, that's like ridiculous. Peter had the most ridiculous costumes, like the one where he's got like a glowing skull face and the and the cutscenes just play out like normal, like he's
nothing's
just wearing
happening.
his normal costume, right? And it's like I kind of wish, Ryan, if you're listening, in your next game, add like something that's like, what are you wearing? Like just that only plays if you wear certain costumes.
What's wrong with your flaming head? Should we Nick Cage, is that you?
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a Raising Arizona joke.
Yeah.
Boy, I gotta say, hey.
What?
Speaking of the costumes, what's your favorite costume in the game?
I really like his first like actual Miles costume, not the one that Peter gave him, but the next one you get in the story itself.
Yeah.
I went around. What was her name? Haley.
Yeah.
Yep.
The hat and scarf.
Yeah,
I played
scarf.
a ton of the game wearing the hat and scarf and the socks.
How do you not?
Yeah,
Yes.
it was
I mean,
just
my goodness.
great. I really like the costume you get from Uncle Aaron.
Yeah.
That was like mostly. I think that was the one I played the game with from that point on. Although there was one that he unlocked as well that's black with green highlights.
Yeah.
I forget how you get that one, but I really like that one a lot too. Those are probably my four favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite's the cat.
The cat one.
Oh, the cat's great.
Oh man, the meowing just really they overdo it at times.
The thing. Well, you know what? If you're Spider-Man,
well,
if you shove a cat into a backpack and you're roping around from building to building, that cat's gonna be making noise.
Yeah,
I guess that's true.
One thing that I did love about the cat outfit is that when you do some of those takedown like finishing moves, the cat joins
Pops
in.
out.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there was one like where Miles like leaps at the bad guy and like punches him, and the cat leaps out and like scratches the bad guy's face.
What?
Yeah. Yep.
It's
I'm playing New
hilarious.
Game Plus with that.
It's not every
in the
time.
trailer for that
Not every
costume.
time, no.
If you,
is it really?
Want to look at it, they totally spoiled it.
That's too bad because it's a really cute gag.
Yeah. Do we think we'll see any DLC for this?
That's a good question because I kind of assume no.
That's what I thought too.
No.
It's so popular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That like maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The best costume is the Daft Punk costume though.
It's
that's
pretty
great. With the light up eyes and the light up chest, where it's all like kind of
great.
The digital like LED lights.
Yeah,
that was by far my favorite costume.
I like the Prowler one too. Partly like I said earlier because it actually like has a story behind it.
Right.
I'm a big fan of that.
I like the color scheme on it.
I did. I went through the game wearing the default costumes that the storyline sort of puts you in. I think the first time I did change into another costume was when I got the one from the Neighbors. When the Neighbors put together the one that you get at the Black Lives Matter mural.
With the yellow, black and yellow.
The black and yellow one.
That's a great suit.
I'm guessing Greg did not get that one
That's
yet?
the one I think I was referring to when I said green. I think that was actually the one I was talking about.
Okay. It's because it's the
I
one
wore
that
that for quite a while too.
Yeah, that's the one like the Neighbors kind of pitch in and put that one together for you. So I wore that one for a while, basically up until I got Uncle Aaron's costume. And then I wore the kind of Prowler inspired one. And then I switched to the Daft Punk one. Just because I loved how it looked. I just loved the way the eyes emoted with the blinking LEDs and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
I do think it's interesting just how essential it seems that costumes have become in terms of a superhero game.
Yeah.
Like people, I obviously am in tune with the scene a lot, but like people just they care almost more about the costumes than they do about like story and characters. It's kind of crazy. Like I think I first realized it back when I worked on Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, and you got like one alternate costume for every character in that game, and they looked like way better. Like the textures were way better and everything than the first game.
Yeah.
The first Ultimate Alliance, but in Ultimate Alliance 1, you got 3 alternate costumes. And like people, like reviewers, I remember our friend Terry Wynn, Scooter, he knocked the game because it had fewer costumes, even though they were better costumes. Like that was like a real factor for him. Whereas like really, if you're telling a comic book story, you're not gonna change your costume that much. You're gonna probably have 1, maybe 2 throughout if something major happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just interesting to me as a fan of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I like the costumes just because it gives you something to unlock, something to work for. And
plus that tokusatsu costume in Spider-Man Remastered is
great. little Kamen Rider Spider-Man.
And the Spider-Verse suit in this, which is a pre-order bonus, but I think you can unlock in the game also.
You can,
is really nice, along with the effect.
That's why I played through New Game Plus with that Spider-Verse. I didn't have the effect on.
The effect made the game too hard to play.
Really?
I thought. Yeah,
really?
I
like that it's there, but it's not something I want to play with.
Yeah, it's right. Like I roped around the city for like 5 minutes with the effect on, just to be like, ooh, I'm in the Spider-Verse.
I got into a couple of fights with that, and I just found out my timing was completely screwy.
Okay.
Okay. So since this is a spoiler cast, so I'm gonna spoil it. This is my game of the year.
What is that right?
Probably mine too. I haven't played nearly as many as you guys because of the kid thing, but
yeah,
we've got kids too.
You're supposed to spoil the game, not your game of the year.
CJ.
Well,
Louise.
I mean, I think what brings this over the top is the all killer, no filler game, design of this game. Like the first game, even playing through
that,
I just came up with all killer, no filler. Yeah, you like that? No,
somebody was a writer.
He didn't come up with
no, I didn't come up with that.
That's a
thing. That's a thing.
It's a thing people say.
Well, Spider-Man fans rejoice.
It's like, how many scrolls are in the Spider. This boy, if you talk about scrolls, this game has so many scrolls. Infinite scrolls.
Yeah. And the ray tracing,
Woody-inducing graphics.
Amazing.
My goodness.
But I'm going through Spider-Man Remastered, and just how many like things there are, stealth sections and Miles walking from box pile to box pile, and like
could you imagine if that's all this game was?
Just like
finally Miles gets his own game, and it's crawling from piles of boxes to other
through an area, avoiding the rhino. Like I mean, it has a lot of filler in there, and the fact that this game doesn't have it is I think it makes it better paced and just a better experience overall. And I think it's going to be hard when they come back to make a more full length sequel to balance that out, right? Because now they've sort of established that they can do like a well-paced thing. And do you bring back some of those other elements, those other like puzzle elements for
I think
sequel?
he will if it's a full price game.
I guess so. Or the other characters,
for better or worse,
doing their stealth thing.
Yeah, I think that the next one's going to be a lot bigger, and I'm still really curious what they do with New York.
Yeah,
because as a Spider-Man fan, I really want it to be New York, but as a gamer, it's like,
well, and also who do you play as? Who do you get to play as?
Yeah, that's true. Like, is it a multiplayer game?
Is it a multiplayer game? Yeah. That could be interesting.
Could have, if it's 2 players, it's got, with Miles, you bring in other Spider-Men. Do you make it a Spider-Verse game? You could do that.
Yeah. Or do you have some of the story happen with Miles in New York and some happen with Peter in a different location?
Yeah. Maybe
Maybe it's
the
like
game is just about Spider-Ham and it takes place in Earth. Seabake?
I don't know the number, but it's the larval universe is what it's called.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
And when do you think we'll hear about the next Spider-Man game? Do you think we hear about it in 2021?
Yes.
Yeah.
The question is, will it come out in 22 or 23 or even later than that?
Yeah.
I'm going to predict. My prediction is the first week of September in 2023.
Wow.
Okay.
That's
because
that's for a release date?
That's my prediction. Or possibly 22. I think Marvel's trying to claim the first week of September like they've claimed the first week of May for movies. Because Spider-Man came out first week of September 18 and Avengers came out first week of September this year. So I don't know. I don't know that they're doing that for sure, but it seems like that might be a thing they're trying to do. So that's my prediction.
You think 2023, not 2022?
Maybe 22, but I think 23 is even a possibility though.
Okay. All right.
I don't know anything.
Well, is that all we want to say about
I think we've
Miles
run our
Morales?
course.
Yeah.
I think maybe we have. Yeah.
You guys don't want to talk about Dazzler?
Was Dazzler in the game?
You guys didn't catch the Okay, I don't know.
Why would I catch a reference to a character I don't even know?
Yeah. How could I have possibly missed the
You
Dazzler
played the
reference?
X-Men arcade game. You know Dazzler.
No.
Yeah.
Dazzler's the one nobody picks.
I was going to say, was Dazzler one of the ones that I could have picked besides Wolverine, who I picked every time?
Yes.
The
Dazzler is the disco Marvel superhero, and there's one of the time capsules you pick up is the Dazzler concert that he and Finn went to, and he became
ticket stubs.
Dazzler and Lila Cheney, who is a much more obscure X-Men character as well.
I didn't get that was a reference.
Yeah, I didn't.
No, I didn't.
It was ticket stubs.
Sounds like you guys need to watch a video I'm going to put up within the next 2 weeks.
Somebody should put that up.
A dazzling
It's written.
video
It's like almost 3,000 words.
Chris Baker. My goodness.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Alrighty. That's where we're calling it. That's where we're calling it.
Call it.
Call it.
We got a big after show to do, and it's getting late here.
Alrighty, and that is our show for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you have a question for us or would like to comment on something you heard, you can direct that to @P1Podcast on the Twitter, or you can go to our internet website at player1podcast.com. There you'll find our contact information. You'll find blog entries about Sega CD stuff from Mr. Greg Seward.
Yes, sometime soon.
Yes, you'll find Generation 16 episodes as well.
I uploaded the new episode today. So $3 plus patrons will have access to that tomorrow, and it'll be general release a week from tomorrow. So next Monday.
Excellent. You'll also find show notes and links to all the things that we talked about during this episode. I'm probably going to throw in some links to some of Seabake's stuff and the various Earth variants that we talked about, the Spider-Ham and all that. I'll link
Fandom is your friend there, the Fandom website. The Fandom Wikia. They changed it from Wikia to Fandom recently, but
okay.
Still comes up.
I will have to take a look at that. And you'll also find a link to our Discord server where you can discuss this episode with us and our other listeners.
If you would like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by visiting player1podcast.com or by roping over to your favorite podcast listening application. You can also find us on Spotify. We're on Stitcher Radio, where you can like us on Facebook. You can watch video archives of our show or watch us perform live most weeks over on the youtubes.com/P1 Podcast. Follow our Twitter account at P1 Podcast to find out when we are doing our next live show. Usually, friendos, it is Sunday nights at 5:30 specific time. So join us, won't you? If you've liked what you've heard, and how could you can head over to patreon.com/P1 Podcast. Throw a few shekels our way because something to do with Spider-Man. I don't know. Something to do with Spider-Man.
Patty's got to buy an Outrun 1-Up cabinet.
Are you getting one of those? Are you getting those?
I want to.
I thought they sold out.
The pre-order's sold out, but that can't be the only run they're doing.
Well, let's hope not for your sake.
They like money. I'm sure they like money.
That's also true. Your Patreon support does, of course, help keep our show running, keeps our Zoom zooming, keeps all those little costs that are affiliated with running a podcast up and well. And we love you and we thank you for them. And of course, my dears, if you are a Patreon supporter of the $5 tier,
cheap.
There it is. You gain access to a weekly bonus episode. We record them right after this, where we play games for Crackwise. We have fun doing all the things we can't do on the regular show. This week, of course, our good friend of the show and IRL in the Earl, Chris Baker.
Which Earth is that?
Oh, well,
I think there actually is an Earth designation for our Earth.
Is there?
There is one.
Is there for the real world?
Yeah. The
I mean, that would make
world
sense,
has
right?
a designation. Like, who decides this stuff in the whole grand scheme of things?
I don't know. I don't know.
I guess. I don't know. God is.
But C-Bakes, you got a game for us this week, right? Is that what I hear?
Yes, it is in the spirit of Miles Morales.
Uh-huh.
Like 2 years ago or something, I was like, hey, before I did any of these things that I've done with you guys, I've done a couple so far.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, CJ, Comic-Con's coming up. Can I do a Jeopardy for you guys about superhero video games? And everything in it is something that came out of my book, Wrong Retro. I don't even know the name of my book anymore.
Nice.
Retro games you messed up our comic book heroes. And since then, I have altered that a bit so that it is stuff that's from my book. It's also stuff that's from my YouTube channel.
Should I pray you do not?
And there's also
further?
There will be a category about the Spider-Man Sony games.
Okay. So we're gonna do terribly on this quiz.
I
read your book and I watch your videos, so I'm hoping.
Yeah. Okay. Then Greg's the early one, but I tried to make it in a very Jeopardy way. Where if you know something, related,
right,
then maybe you can put an intelligent guess in there. Okay. And we're gonna try something that's never been done on a Player One. I don't know if CJ has told you what we're gonna try to do here.
No,
with this particular episode. I found a website that has buzzers, internet buzzers.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
We're going to see if it works.
So you guys are going to buzz in. You're actually going to buzz in.
Oh, man. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll see if this works. This should be exciting, folks. Please join us, Patreon friends. $5 tier. And of course, if you have...
Wait.
Oh, there's more.
If they don't want to pay the $5, eventually I might have it on my YouTube.
There you go.
Oh, well, there you go. Cool. Maybe. Yeah, because we didn't want their money. Thanks, C-Bake.
No, I don't want to get no, why would I give you money?
You clearly went to the Chris Johnston School of Sales.
Why support us? You'll get it for free anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. There you go.
Thanks. Hey, if you have an extra $5, or if you have an extra any amount of money burning a hole in your pocket, head over to generation-16.com where you'll find the Patreon links to help support Greg Stewart's outstanding, and it is outstanding, web series about North America's favorite runner-up, the Sega Genesis.
Thank you, Phil. Like I say, new episode coming out in the next week.
Yes. I can't wait.
I'm excited.
I am too.
I will watch.
Can't wait to see how it turned out.
CJ.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Phil.
Gregory.
Yo.
Thank you as well.
Thank you, Philip.
And of course, an extra special thanks. Oh, I forgot to mention that CJ puts up old after shows on Thursdays.
That's fine.
You can listen to those. They're on our regular feed. You see them anyway. Super special thanks, of course, to the wonderful, always entertaining Christopher Baker, C-Bake, to his friends.
Why, thank you very much, Chris and Greg.
Yes, that's right.
Phil, I love you, Phil.
Nobody knows.
Who was it that suggested we should get C-Bake on this week's show? Me. I did
the trouble I've seen.
Sad. But thank you, of course, Seabake, for coming on. And everyone, if you want to check out some of Seabake's superhero knowledge, check out his very entertaining book, Wrong Retro Games. You messed up our favorite superheroes.
Comic book heroes.
Comic book heroes.
If I ever do volume 2, I'm going to rebrand.
Are you?
Yeah, I did that for SEO, and it didn't do anything. Yeah. It's just
so. Well, yeah. I don't know about the SEO, but I do know about the LOL, and that book was chock full of them.
All right. That's right. Thank you, Phil.
And of course, follow Seabake's YouTube channel, which is what is it? Superhero.vg. VG. Yes. And he Seabake has loads of very entertaining and very informative videos about these superheroes.
I would like to think so. Some Star Wars in there too.
They're pretty good.
And and who doesn't like Star Wars? So thank you for listening, everyone. Remember, when you're working from home, be sure to get up out of your desk at least once every hour. Get a little exercise and get out of the house once a day. Get some fresh air. Get some vitamin D. And of course, mask up. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family, your friends, your loved ones. My goodness. We'll see you next week.
Yes, indeed.